Yo, what is going on, my YouTube people? 2999 back here with another video, and in today's video, we're going to be going through this amazing Asian Cup group stage that just concluded yesterday as the time of recording. If you guys are new to the channel, please make sure to smash that subscribe button, like the video as well, join all of my socials, my Discord, TikTok, Twitter, Instagram. All those links will be down in the description for you guys to check out, and it's going to be a fun one because this Asian Cup, there's been a lot of surprises that I feel like a lot of us was not expecting. We're going to go through all the groups, and this will be a particularly unedited video. There's not gonna be much changes to it, just honest opinions and a preview of what may come for some of these teams that we're gonna be talking about. So for Group A, we've got Qatar, Tajikistan, China, and Lebanon. Yeah, that group, very boring group right up until the end. I mean, Qatar dominated, and kudos to Qatar. I gave them a lot less credit. I thought they were actually going to struggle, but they breezed past the group. The only game that they really struggled was against Tajikistan, which we're going to get on right now. Tajikistan, another team, making their debut in the Asian Cup. Now, I'm Iranian, right? So I kind of do have some sort of attachment to Tajikistan historically. You guys can go check it out. It's pretty cool stuff, and I wanted them to do well in this group, which they did. They finished second with 4 points. They got a heroic win against Lebanon on the last match day. The last match day for this group was intense. And then we talk about China, who finished third. Realistically, I personally believe that China was the worst country in this tournament. They scored no goals. They scored none, and they finished on 2 points. They had 2 0-0 draws. It was just a very boring game in general, and I am kind of disappointed. I mean, I know a lot of us keep talking about the decline of Chinese football, but this is more of a decline. This is very concerning. If I was a Chinese football fan, I'd be very concerned. And Lebanon finishing fourth, and I would say Lebanon played better than China, but yeah, point system, that's how it works. They finished on 1 point. So that means Qatar and Tajikistan advance, and they're going to be playing, Tajikistan will be playing the UAE, which is an interesting matchup. I think it could go really either way. And then Qatar is playing Palestine, which I also think that can go either way because Palestine actually proved to be quite a tough team to play against. I'm going to get into that in a bit. For Group B, we've got Australia, Uzbekistan, Syria, and India. Australia, as expected, will end top, but they drew their last game against Uzbekistan. And to be quite honest with you, they probably shouldn't have even won it. The penalty they got in that last game was very, very, very questionable. So they got very lucky to get away with that. But they finished on with 7 points. Uzbekistan continue to perform, even if they don't have their top players, they don't have Elo Shumerodov, which is a huge, huge miss. They finish off with 5 points. And then Syria also made it as one of the best placed third teams, which is very cool to see. I think it's their first time making it to the knockout stages in a very long time. So that means that Australia will be playing Indonesia. It also means that Uzbekistan will be playing Thailand. I think that's going to be a very interesting matchup. And Syria is going to play against my homeland, Iran. Yeah, very tough opponent for Syria. But for the two others, Australia and Indonesia, I think Australia got off pretty easy. Like I said, they've been pretty lucky with this tournament so far, if we're being completely honest. Group C, Iran, UAE, Palestine, and Hong Kong. Iran having a perfect record, winning all 3 games. Fantastic performance, except for that one game against Hong Kong. Against Palestine, we were amazing. Against the UAE, we were amazing. But against Hong Kong, that was probably the worst performance I have seen. Yeah, it was probably worse than the 6-2 against England in the World Cup. It was that bad. Like, we were struggling to Hong Kong. With all due respect to Hong Kong, it's Hong Kong. Yeah, but we still got the job done. We replied very well in that UAE game that ended 2-1. Probably should have ended a lot more. VAR completely ruined that game. It should have been 3-1, 4-1 at least. We also saved a penalty. So we played really well. Some convincing football. We kind of made a statement for at least the people who watched it. And the UAE finished second with 4 points. And for a moment, for a very, very brief moment, Palestine was actually second, and they were on the verge of finishing it until a last-minute UAE goal. And they got in second. I mean, if Iran would have scored one more goal, which we scored way more than one goal, we scored like 5 goals. 3 of them were not counted due to VAR. Palestine would have also gone through. So very unfortunate. And then Hong Kong, despite them getting 0 points, I think they showed that they are a lot better than people made them out to be. They weren't awful. And against Iran, they were very good. Very, very good. So Iran, like I said, are going to be playing Syria. They're probably the favorites to win that one. UAE, they're going to play Tajikistan, which is going to be a very interesting game. And then Palestine is going to be playing Qatar, as I mentioned just above. Next group, Group D, Iraq, Japan, Indonesia, and Vietnam. We all expected Japan to absolutely smash this group. Well, guess what? They ended second. Japan ended second in that group. I'm being serious. They lost to Iraq, and we have to give full credits to Iraq here. For me, they were the most impressive team. Again, perfect record, just like Iran. They won the game against Japan, they won the game against Vietnam, and they won the game against Indonesia in a very cool style. I mean, it's amazing to see this Iraqi team play. They were fantastic. Japan, if you want me to be completely honest, they weren't dominant at all, actually. They were losing to Vietnam for a bit. They kind of woke up, and then they won the game. They lost against Iraq, and then against Indonesia, not that they were bad, they were a lot better than the previous two games, but again, they didn't seem like they were fully there. So I don't know what's going on. Zion Suzuki has been pretty disappointing as well. Now, I mean, that doesn't really excuse all the hate that he's been getting, and I really do feel bad for him. The defenders need to wake up. There's been a lot of stuff in that team that just needs to be addressed. I don't know what Moriyasu's plan is going forward. And then Indonesia actually made it because of Kyrgyzstan scoring a goal in the last minute. I'm going to get into that in a bit. They end up with 3 points, and Vietnam, unfortunately, gets 0 points. And Vietnam, it's so brutal for them to get that 0 points simply because they were actually not bad at all. Like, they scored 2 goals against Iraq and Japan, and they didn't get anything to show for it. Nevertheless, Japan is going to be playing Bahrain. They're probably expected to win the game. And then Iraq are going to be playing Jordan, and Indonesia is playing against Australia. Like I've said, I've already mentioned these games in the past, but we're moving on now to the Group E, which again, South Korea did not finish first. They were second. Bahrain finished first with 6 points. South Korea finished with 5. Jordan finished with 4, and then Malaysia, kudos to them, finished with 1. South Korea, man, they've just been disappointing. You just have to say it. They haven't been convincing at all. Jurgen Klinsmann, this guy doesn't take this job seriously at all. Now, Korea are going to be playing Saudi Arabia, and then if they do win against Saudi Arabia, they're playing against Australia. So they've got a very tough path ahead of them, and they deserve it because you've got such a talented Korean squad, and Jurgen Klinsmann took that for granted and made this. Like, I feel it's embarrassing. If I was a Korean football fan, I wouldn't be impressed at all, because you can't concede. I think they conceded 3 goals to Malaysia. You can't do that. You just can't do that. Nevertheless, Bahrain, like I said, is going to be playing Japan. It's going to be a very hard game for them. Jordan are going to be playing Iraq. So these 3 teams are going to all play very tough opponents, and that's just what the Asian Cup is. For the last group, we've got Saudi Arabia, Thailand, Oman, and Kyrgyzstan. Saudi Arabia finishing first, not with a perfect record. They actually struggled, and they struggled in all of their games, if I'm being completely honest. I mean, against Oman, they had to come from 1-0 down, and they scored at the last possible second. Kyrgyzstan was a better result, but I think they had 2 men down, Kyrgyzstan, and Saudi Arabia has only got 1 goal. They just couldn't finish it. And then 0-0 against Thailand. So they weren't particularly that amazing, but at least they won their game. So that's that. Thailand finishing second with 5 points. Oman finishing third with 2 points. They didn't unfortunately make it, and their coach is also sacked. And then Kyrgyzstan, which, like I said, they scored 1 goal in the last second, courtesy of a Joel Kojo goal, and that made Indonesia go ahead to qualify, due to goal difference and such, I believe, if I'm not mistaken. So that's that. That's it for this group stage preview. I'm going to give my round of 16 predictions pretty quick. This is going to be completely unedited. Tajikistan, UAE. I'm going to back up the Tajik boys. I hope they can make it. Iraq, Jordan. I think Iraq is going to go ahead and win that one. Australia, Indonesia. I've said it. I think Australia is going to win it. Korea and South Korea.
What?
Korea and Saudi Arabia. This can really go either way. I'm gonna give it to South Korea just because. Iran, Syria. I think Iran is gonna win it. Bahrain against Japan. I think Japan is gonna win it. Qatar, Palestine. I think Qatar is going to win it, and Uzbekistan and Thailand is going to be a very interesting game. I think Uzbekistan is going to go ahead and win it. So that's it for that. If you guys enjoyed this little video here talking about the group stage and the round of 16, make sure to join all my socials, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.
Damn, I'm on red alert. Now she went up in the